The rescue ship arrived too late to save the adults. Captain Lisa Morgan stood in the observation room and looked at the destroyed colony below. The fighting between the two alien clans had been brutal. Now only smoke and ruins remained. Her crew had found something unexpected in the underground shelter. 6 young creatures huddled together in the darkness. They were Cravathi cubs, children of the most dangerous predators in this part of the galaxy. Their parents had died in the battle, leaving the cubs alone and afraid. The Cravathi were not small even as children. Each cub stood as tall as Lisa's waist. Their bodies were covered in dark blue scales that caught the light. They had sharp teeth in 3 rows and claws that could cut through metal. Everyone in the galaxy knew to fear the Cravathi. They were born hunters, made by nature to be killers, but these cubs were dying. They had not eaten in 4 days. Lisa watched through the glass as her crew tried again to feed them. A young officer pushed a tray of fresh meat toward the cubs. The largest cub, a female with scales so dark they looked black, showed her teeth and growled. The sound made the wall shake. The officer stepped back quickly, leaving the food untouched. Dr. Philip Carter stood next to Lisa. He was the ship's expert on alien life. His face showed worry and frustration. "They are getting weaker," Philip said. "If they do not eat soon, we will lose them all." Lisa had seen the medical reports. The cubs were starving themselves. But why would any creature refuse food when hungry? "What do we know about how they eat?" Lisa asked. Philip pulled up information on his data screen. Pictures and text floated in the air between them. "In nature, Cravathi parents teach their young how to hunt," Philip explained. "The adults eat first. The cubs watch and learn. Then the cubs join in. It is how they bond as a family. The cubs will not eat unless an adult shows them it is safe." Lisa understood the problem now, but there are no adults left. "Exactly," Philip said. "These cubs are waiting for a parent to tell them the food is good. Without that, they think something is wrong. Their instincts tell them to wait." Lisa studied the 6 cubs carefully. They stayed close together, seeking comfort from each other. Their scales looked dull now, losing the healthy shine. They moved slowly, saving energy. Time was running out. An idea formed in Lisa's mind. It was dangerous, maybe even foolish, but she could not watch these children die. "What if we give them what they need?" Lisa said slowly. "An adult to eat with them." Philip turned to look at her with surprise. Then concern filled his face. "Captain, these are apex predators. Even young ones like this have killed trained handlers before. Their instincts for violence are strong." "But their instincts for family are stronger," Lisa replied. "Look at them. They are not attacking because they want to hurt us. They are scared. They are orphans looking for someone to tell them everything will be okay." She made her decision. "I am going in." The bridge crew started talking all at once, trying to change her mind. But Lisa held up her hand for silence. "We have no other choice. Either we try this or we watch them die. Prepare a meal for me the same as theirs." 20 minutes later, Lisa stood outside the cubs' room. Her heart beat fast in her chest. She carried a tray with raw meat on it, the same cuts the cubs had refused. She wore no protective armor, just her normal uniform. If this went wrong, armor would not save her anyway. The door opened with a hiss. 6 pairs of glowing yellow eyes locked onto her. Lisa moved slowly and carefully as she walked inside. The cubs tensed their muscles. The dark female cub moved to the front of the group. A low growl came from deep in her chest, a warning. "Easy," Lisa said quietly. The cubs would not understand her words, but maybe they would understand her calm voice. "I am not here to hurt you." She sat down on the floor with her legs crossed. She was about 10 feet away from where the cubs' food had been placed. She set her own tray in front of her. The cubs watched, tilting their heads in confusion. Lisa picked up a piece of the raw meat. The smell made her stomach feel sick, but she forced herself to stay calm. She brought the meat to her mouth and took a bite. She chewed slowly, even though every part of her wanted to stop. The cubs became perfectly still. Lisa swallowed hard, fighting the urge to be sick. She took another bite. She kept her eyes down, not challenging the cubs, just showing them what to do. After a moment, she set down her piece and pointed toward their food. The dark female cub took one small step forward. Then another. The other cubs followed her, moving together. They came closer to their food pile slowly, their eyes moving between Lisa and the meat. The dark cub smelled the food. Then she looked at Lisa. The captain took another bite of her own meat, keeping that steady, calm pace. The dark cub picked up a piece of meat. She bit into it, her powerful jaws making quick work of the flesh. The other cubs immediately did the same. Suddenly the room was filled with the sounds of eating. Lisa kept eating her portion, forcing down every bite until the cubs were fully focused on their meal. Only then did she let herself stop and just sit, watching as the 6 orphans finally ate. Through the observation window, Philip and the rest of the crew stared in shocked silence. The impossible had just happened. A human had made apex predator cubs think she was family. As the cubs finished their meal, the dark female came toward Lisa slowly. The captain stayed perfectly still as the young cravati sniffed her. Then the cub pressed her scaled head against Lisa's shoulder. Lisa slowly reached up and touched the cub's head. The scales felt warm and smooth under her hand. "You are safe now," Lisa whispered. The other 5 cubs came closer, surrounding Lisa in a circle of scales and sharp claws. But there was no threat in their movements now. They were seeking comfort, seeking family. Lisa sat with them until they fell asleep, their bodies relaxed for the first time in days. She had risked her life on a simple idea, that all children, no matter how dangerous they might become, need someone to care for them. She had sat with them. She had eaten with them, and they had accepted her. It was just the beginning. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within days, everyone had heard about Captain Lisa Morgan and the 6 Cravathi cubs. Scientists wanted to study what happened. Diplomats asked questions. Military leaders tried to understand how a human became family to creatures no one could get close to before. But Lisa did not care about the attention. She had 6 cubs who needed her. They needed more than just one meal. They needed someone to help them heal from losing their families. They needed someone to teach them how to trust again. The ship changed its route. They were now heading to Sanctuary Station, a place where refugees from many worlds could find safety. The journey would take 3 weeks. During that time, Lisa spent every free moment with the cubs. She learned that each cub was different. The dark female was the protector of the group. Lisa's crew started calling her Shadow because she followed Lisa everywhere. There was a white male cub, smaller than the others, but very smart. They named him Frost. A female with reddish scales loved to play. Her name became Ember. 2 cubs looked exactly alike, twins with matching patterns. The crew called them Dusk and Dawn because Dawn had a small mark on her left ear. The largest male kept peace among the group. They called him Ash. "You have become their mother," Philip said one evening. He watched Lisa sit with the cubs while they played. Their version of playing looked violent to human eyes. They wrestled and bit at each other, practicing the fighting skills they would need as adults. Shadow stayed close to Lisa, only joining the games when Lisa encouraged her. "Not their mother," Lisa corrected him. "More like an older sister. They know I am not Cravathi, but they accept me as part of their group." Over the past week, Lisa had learned to read their body language. Their scales changed color slightly when they felt content. They made different sounds that meant different things. They touched noses when greeting each other. Each cub had their own personality and quirks. "They are teaching me as much as I teach them," Lisa said. "Yesterday, Frost figured out how to open the supply cabinet. Instead of making a mess, he brought me a medical kit because he saw I had cut my hand." Philip raised his eyebrows in surprise. That shows very advanced thinking. And empathy. Most people believe the Cravathi are too focused on hunting to care about others outside their own kind. Most people never tried sitting down to eat with them, Lisa said with a small smile. But everything was not easy. The cubs still had bad dreams at night. They woke up scared, remembering the attack that killed their families. Lisa started sleeping in their room. Her presence seemed to calm them. When Ember woke up screaming one night, her cries echoing through the whole ship, Lisa was there. She wrapped her arms around the shaking cub until Ember felt safe again. The ship's crew had different feelings about what Lisa was doing. Some thought she was taking too many risks. Others found the whole situation fascinating. Lieutenant Kevin Harris, head of security, insisted on keeping armed guards outside the cub's room at all times. Lisa did not like it, but Kevin would not change his mind. "With respect, Captain, those are still predators," Kevin said during an argument on the bridge. "One wrong move, one misunderstood gesture, and they could kill you in seconds." "They could," Lisa agreed. "But they will not." "They trust me, Kevin, and I trust them. Trust does not stop instinct." "No," Lisa said, "but love does." The word surprised even Lisa when she said it. But once it was out, she knew it was true. She had grown to love these cubs. She loved their fierce loyalty and surprising gentleness. She loved how they had survived such trauma and still chose to trust. As the days passed, Lisa began introducing the cubs to other crew members. It was a slow process. Shadow was especially protective, always placing herself between her siblings and any newcomer. But slowly, with Lisa's presence as reassurance, the cubs began to accept others. Dr. Helen Foster was the ship's medical officer. She was the first person besides Lisa to successfully interact with the cubs alone. She brought them treats, special food supplements hidden inside meat. The cubs learned that Helen meant good things. "You have done something amazing," Helen told Lisa one afternoon. "You have shown us that the walls between species are not as solid as we thought. These cubs should be impossible to socialize with anyone outside their own kind. But here they are, accepting humans as family." Lisa watched as Frost tried to groom Helen's hair with his rough tongue. Helen laughed at the feeling. "Maybe the problem was never them," Lisa said. "Maybe it was us. We saw them as monsters because they are predators. But being a predator does not mean you cannot love or trust or be family." That evening, as Lisa prepared the cubs' dinner, Shadow brought her something unexpected. It was a piece of torn cloth from the shelter where they had been found. Shadow had been very protective of it, not letting anyone else touch it. It was one of the few things the cubs had from their old home. Now Shadow laid it at Lisa's feet. She touched her nose to Lisa's hand. Lisa understood what this meant. It was a gift, a sign of complete trust. She carefully picked up the cloth and tied it around her wrist like a bracelet. Shadow made a pleased rumbling sound. The other cubs gathered around, creating a pile of scales and human arms in the center of the room. Through the observation window, Philip recorded the moment on his device. "For the history books," he said quietly, "the day humans became family to the Cravathi." The 3 weeks passed quickly. Lisa fell into a routine with the cubs. She woke up surrounded by them. She ate with them 3 times a day, always taking the first bite to show them it was safe. She played with them, careful to avoid their claws and teeth but joining in their games as much as she could. She taught them simple words in her language, and they taught her sounds in theirs. At night, they all slept together in a pile of warmth and trust. Lisa often woke to find Shadow's head on her shoulder, or Frost curled against her back, or one of the twins using her leg as a pillow. She thought about her old life sometimes. She had been a ship captain, respected and successful. She had commanded a crew and made important decisions. But none of that felt as important as this. These 6 cubs needed her in a way no one else ever had. When Sanctuary Station finally appeared on the view screens, Lisa felt both relief and worry. Relief because the cubs would have more space and better resources. Worry because she did not know what would happen next. Would the galaxy let her keep caring for them, or would someone try to take them away? Shadow seemed to sense Lisa's worry. The large cub pressed close against her side, offering comfort the same way Lisa had comforted Shadow so many times. "We will figure it out," Lisa said, stroking Shadow's scales. "We are family now. Nothing will change that." The other cubs gathered around, their scales rippling with colors that Lisa had learned meant love and trust. They did not know what waited for them at the station, but they knew they had each other, and that was enough. Sanctuary Station looked like a small moon floating in space. The massive structure housed over 50,000 refugees from 20 different species. It existed in neutral territory, maintained by the Galactic Council as a safe place for those who had lost their homes to war or disaster. When Lisa's ship docked at the station, a group of important officials waited to meet them. The station director, an insect-like alien named Kuloth, had personally requested to speak with Captain Lisa Morgan. News of the Cravathi cubs had reached the station before they arrived. "This is unprecedented," Kuloth said through his translation device. His multiple eyes focused on Lisa with great interest. "The Cravathi have never allowed another species to care for their young. How did you accomplish this?" Lisa stood in the station's main conference room. The 6 cubs pressed close around her legs and sides. They had been nervous during the transfer from the ship to the station. Their scales had turned almost completely black with stress. Shadow had not left Lisa's side for a moment. Even now, the cub kept herself between Lisa and the alien director. "I did not accomplish anything special," Lisa said carefully. "They were starving and scared. I offered them what they needed. The comfort of family during a meal. Everything else just happened naturally." A crystal-like alien spoke up, her body catching the light and throwing rainbows across the room. The question now is what we do with them. We contacted the Cravathi government. They say these cubs are from a rogue clan involved in illegal activities. They refuse to take them back. Lisa felt her stomach drop with fear. What are you saying? The cubs have no home to return to, Kuloth explained. No clan will accept them. In Cravathi culture, they are outcasts. Some have suggested placing them in a research facility or zoo. Absolutely not, Lisa said sharply. The cubs sensed her distress. Ash let out a low warning growl that made several officials step back. Then what do you suggest, Captain? The crystal alien asked. They cannot stay on your ship forever. They are growing fast. Soon they will need more space, more food and more specialized care than a military ship can provide. Lisa looked down at Shadow. The cub gazed back with those intelligent yellow eyes. Shadow trusted her completely. All of them did. Lisa could not let them be locked in cages and studied like objects. I will take responsibility for them, Lisa said. I will resign my position as captain if necessary. These cubs need someone who understands them, someone they trust. I will not abandon them. The room went silent. Philip, who had come to the meeting with Lisa, stepped forward. Captain Morgan has shown an unprecedented ability to bond with and care for these cubs. If the Galactic Council truly cares about helping displaced refugees, you should support her in this. Kuloth's antennae twitched, a sign he was thinking carefully. You would give up your career for 6 predator cubs? They are not just predator cubs, Lisa said firmly. They are children who lost everything. And yes, I would give up anything for them. The officials talked quietly among themselves while Lisa waited. Her hand rested on Shadow's head, drawing comfort from the cub's warmth. Finally, Kuloth turned back to face them. The council will provide living space on Sanctuary Station for the cubs, he announced. It will be designed to meet their needs as they grow. Captain Morgan, if you agree to remain as their primary caretaker, we will make you their legal guardian. However, you must accept help from support staff and agree to security measures. Relief flooded through Lisa like cool water. Thank you. We accept your terms. There is one more thing, the crystal alien said. Other Cravathi refugees have arrived at the station. Adults who also lost their homes in the territorial conflicts. They heard about the cubs. They want to see them. Lisa felt Shadow tense beneath her hand. How do the cubs feel about that? We do not know, Kuloth admitted. But it might be important for their development to have contact with adult Cravathi, even if those adults are not from their original clan. Over the next few days, Lisa and her team worked to settle the cubs into their new home. It was much better than the ship's small room. The new space was large with multiple levels for climbing and exploring. The environmental controls made it feel like their home world. There was plenty of room to run and play. The cubs adapted quickly. They explored every corner of their new home with excitement, but they always came back to check on Lisa, making sure she was still there. On the 4th day, the adult Cravathi came to visit. There were 3 of them, 2 females and 1 male. All showed scars from recent battles. They had lost their own families in the wars and had nowhere else to go. When they saw the cubs, something changed in their faces. Lisa stood with Philip and Kevin as they watched through the observation window. The cubs had frozen when they saw the adult Cravathi. Their scales rippled with uncertainty and perhaps fear. The largest adult female had deep purple scales. She approached the cubs slowly. She made a low, rhythmic sound unlike anything Lisa had heard from the cubs before. It was not a growl or roar. It was gentle, almost like singing. Shadow responded first. She crept forward with her head held low in respect. The adult female lowered herself to the ground, making herself less threatening. Shadow touched her nose to the adult's nose. Suddenly the air filled with that same melodic sound as the adult Cravathi began to sing. It is a nursing song, Philip whispered, checking his data device. Cravathi mothers sing to their cubs. It is how they pass down their history and culture through generations. One by one, the other cubs approached. The 3 adult Cravathi surrounded them. Their song grew more complex, voices blending together in ways that seemed impossible for such fierce creatures. Lisa felt tears sting her eyes. The cubs needed this connection to their own culture and species. But as she watched, Shadow looked back at her, seeking reassurance that this was okay. Lisa nodded and smiled. Shadow returned her attention to the adults, trying to join in their song with her own uncertain voice. You gave them the foundation, Helen said softly, appearing beside Lisa at the window. Now they can build on it. The adult Cravathi stayed for hours. They taught the cubs songs and hunting techniques. They groomed the cubs and listened to their stories through sounds and body language. But when the cubs grew tired and wanted to sleep, they returned to Lisa. They piled around her as they had done every night since that first meal on the ship. The largest adult female approached Lisa directly for the first time. She studied the human with intense focus. Then she did something surprising. She bowed her head, a gesture of deep respect in Cravathi culture. Through a translator device, her words came out rough but clear. "You saved our children's children. We are in your debt, human mother." Lisa reached out slowly. The adult Cravathi allowed Lisa to touch her scaled head. "They saved me too," Lisa said. "They taught me what it means to bridge the gap between different worlds." The adult Cravathi made a sound of approval. The three adults visited regularly after that, becoming teachers and cultural guides for the cubs. They helped Shadow, Frost, Ember, Dusk, Dawn, and Ash understand their heritage and their place in the galaxy. But Lisa remained the one the cubs turned to for comfort and safety. She was the one who had sat with them when they were most vulnerable. She was the one who had shown them that trust could exist across the vast differences between species. The cubs had started calling her something in their language. The translator rendered it as human mother. Lisa had protested at first, saying she was not really their mother. But Philip had explained that in Cravathi culture, the word meant more than biological parent. It meant the one who feeds you, the one who protects you, the one who makes you feel safe. By that definition, Lisa was absolutely their mother, and she would do anything to protect her family. 3 months passed in relative peace. The cubs grew at an amazing rate, their bodies filled out with muscle. Their scales hardened to their adult shine. Shadow was now nearly as tall as Lisa. Ash towered over her, but despite their physical size and strength, they remained deeply bonded to their human guardian. The three adult Cravathi visited regularly. The cubs had given them names in the Cravathi language. In translation, they were called Song, Storm, and Silence. These adults helped the cubs understand their heritage and culture. They taught them the old ways and the meaning behind their traditions. But Lisa remained the one the cubs turned to when they needed comfort or guidance. The unusual arrangement had attracted attention from all over the galaxy. Scientists studied the bond between human and Cravathi. Diplomats wondered if this could be the start of better relations with the usually isolationist species. Some saw opportunity, some saw profit, and some saw threat. The trouble began when a Cravathi war leader named Razor arrived at Sanctuary Station with a fleet of warships. He claimed that the cubs belonged to a clan under his protection. He demanded their return. "They are Cravathi," Razor declared in the station's council chamber. His massive form made most of the officials present look tiny. His scales were covered with battle scars and metal implants. They should be raised by Cravathi, not by a weak human who has made them soft. Lisa stood her ground even though the war leader was intimidating. "These cubs were orphaned by the conflicts your kind started. Your own government rejected them. I did not make them soft. I kept them alive." Razor's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You have taught them to trust prey species. This is unnatural. It makes them weak and vulnerable." "I taught them that strength is not just about teeth and claws," Lisa said firmly. "I taught them that trust and cooperation can be strengths too." "Prove it," Razor said. "In my culture, disputes over young are settled through combat. If you truly believe you are worthy to raise Cravathi cubs, face me in the arena." The council chamber erupted in protests. Kuloth raised his hands for silence. "This is barbaric. Captain Morgan is not a warrior trained for combat against a Cravathi war leader." "Then she is not fit to raise warriors," Razor declared. "My offer stands. Face me or surrender the cubs to proper Cravathi authority." Lisa felt her heart pounding. She had no illusions about her chances against Razor. He was a trained killer who outweighed her by hundreds of pounds. He had natural weapons that could tear her apart in seconds. But refusing would mean losing the cubs. Before she could respond, Shadow entered the chamber. The young Cravathi had grown confident over the months. She moved with the grace and power of an apex predator. She positioned herself between Lisa and Razor. Her scales darkened to aggressive black. "The human mother has already fought for us," Shadow said through her translator. "She fought our fear with patience. She fought our hunger with courage. She fought our loneliness with love. She has proven herself worthy." The other cubs entered behind Shadow, forming a protective line in front of Lisa. Even young as they were, together they were formidable. Razor studied them with a calculating expression. You speak well, young one, but you defend prey thinking. In the real galaxy, such weakness will get you killed. Is it weakness to have allies? Frost asked, his voice sharp with intelligence. You came here alone, war leader. We stand together. An interesting point, Razor admitted. He turned back to Lisa. Very well. A modified challenge. You and your cubs against me and my warriors in a strategic exercise. We will see if your way of thinking has any practical value. The council agreed to the modified challenge, though many members expressed concern. The exercise would take place in the station's combat simulation arena. They would use non-lethal weapons and scenarios designed to test tactics and teamwork, rather than just brute force. Lisa spent the next week preparing with the cubs. They had played and trained together before, but never for anything like this. The adult Kravathi helped. Song, Storm, and Silence taught Lisa and the cubs traditional Kravathi combat formations and strategies. You face an opponent who has fought hundreds of battles, Storm warned. Razor is known for his cunning as much as his strength. He will exploit any weakness he finds. Then we will not show him weakness, Lisa said with determination. We will show him something he does not expect. A family that fights as one. The day of the challenge arrived. The simulation arena was packed with observers from dozens of species. Everyone was curious to see the outcome. Razor entered with 4 adult warriors, all bearing the marks of extensive combat experience. Lisa and the cubs faced them across the arena floor. The scenario involved capturing objectives while defending against the opposing team. Victory would go to whoever controlled the most territory when time ran out. The simulation began. Razor's team moved with military precision. Their tactics were honed by years of warfare. They were efficient and deadly even with non-lethal weapons. But Lisa and the cubs had something different. They had trust. Instead of meeting Razor's team in direct combat, they split up. Frost and Dusk used their smaller size to infiltrate enemy positions without being detected. Shadow and Ash drew the warriors into carefully planned ambushes. Dawn and Ember worked with Lisa to secure objectives while the others kept Razor's team distracted. They fight like cowards, one of Razor's warriors snarled after falling into Frost's trap for the 3rd time. They fight like family, Song observed from the viewing area. The human taught them to use every advantage, not just force. The match went on for an hour. Razor's team dominated in direct fights. They were stronger and more experienced. But the cubs kept slipping through their defenses. They took objectives and disappeared before the adult warriors could respond. Lisa coordinated their movements, using her years of military training to outthink rather than overpower the enemy. In the final minutes, Razor cornered Lisa personally. His simulated weapon was aimed at her, ready to eliminate her from the match. Victory seemed certain for him. But before he could fire, all 6 cubs converged on his position at once. Their attack was so coordinated and fierce that even in simulation, it was clear they would have overwhelmed him through sheer teamwork. The match ended. Lisa's team controlled 60% of the territory. They had won. Razor removed his simulation gear slowly. His expression was unreadable. The arena fell completely silent as everyone waited for his response. Finally, the war leader approached Lisa. You fight without honor, he said. Lisa met his gaze without flinching. I fight to protect my family. If that is without honor in your eyes, then so be it. Razor stared at her for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound that echoed through the arena. You are either very brave or very foolish, human, perhaps both. He looked at the cubs who had formed a protective circle around Lisa. These cubs have learned well, not the way of traditional Kravathi warriors, but something new, perhaps something necessary for these changing times. He turned to address the watching crowd. I came here believing the cubs had been corrupted by prey species weakness. Instead, I see they have gained strength I did not expect. The human mother has proven her worth. The cubs may remain with her. Relief flooded through Lisa, but she kept her expression calm and respectful. Thank you, war leader. Razor nodded. Thank you, human mother, for showing this old warrior that there are many kinds of strength. He paused, then added more quietly, and many kinds of family. As Razor and his warriors left the arena, the cubs crowded around Lisa. Their scales rippled with colors that meant joy and relief. Shadow pressed her head against Lisa's shoulder in their familiar gesture of affection. "We did it," Ember said, her voice filled with pride. "You did it," Lisa corrected, hugging as many cubs as she could reach at once. "All of you. You were incredible." Through the viewing window, Philip smiled and made another note in his research files. The bond between human and Cravathi had just passed its greatest test, and in doing so it had opened doors to possibilities no one had imagined before. The galaxy was watching now, and it was learning. 6 months after the challenge with Razor, Sanctuary Station had become something unprecedented in galactic history. It was now a center for cross-species cooperation with the Cravathi. Word of Lisa and the cubs had spread throughout Cravathi territory. Slowly and cautiously, more of the warrior species began to arrive at the station. They came seeking refuge from endless wars. They came seeking peace. They came seeking to understand how a human could have bridged a gap that had seemed impossible for generations. The cubs, now nearly full adult size, became ambassadors in their own right. They taught other Cravathi that strength could exist alongside gentleness. They showed their people that cooperation could be as valuable as competition. Lisa stood on the observation deck, watching the cubs train with a new group of younger Cravathi who had recently arrived as refugees. Shadow led the training session with the confidence and authority of an experienced teacher. She showed the newcomers the techniques Lisa had taught her, blending human tactical thinking with Cravathi physical prowess. "You have started something remarkable," Kuloth said, joining Lisa at the window. 3 Cravathi clans have reached out to the council about establishing formal diplomatic relations. That has not happened in over a century. "It was not me," Lisa said humbly. "It was the cubs. They were willing to trust when they had every reason not to. They taught their own people that different does not mean enemy." "You taught them that first," Kuloth pointed out, "by being willing to sit with them, to eat with them, to be vulnerable with creatures who could have easily killed you." Lisa watched as Frost demonstrated a tactical maneuver to a group of fascinated young Cravathi. His small size was an advantage in ways the others were learning to appreciate. "I just did what anyone should do when they see children in need," Lisa said. "I showed up. I stayed." "But you kept showing up," Philip said, approaching from the other side. He carried his ever-present data pad filled with research notes. "Even when it was hard, even when it was scary, even when you had to sacrifice everything else in your life. That commitment is what made the difference." The cubs noticed Lisa on the observation deck. Shadow paused the training session and led the entire group up to where Lisa stood. The younger Cravathi followed with obvious curiosity and respect. "Human mother," Shadow said, touching her nose to Lisa's hand in their familiar greeting. "We want to show you something." She gestured to the youngest of the new arrivals. It was a small Cravathi cub, no older than Shadow had been when they first met. The cub was thin. His scales looked dull and unhealthy. His eyes held the same traumatized, fearful look Lisa remembered so well from 6 months ago. "His name is Spark," Shadow explained. "He was found alone just like we were. He will not eat." Lisa felt her heart clench with familiar pain and determination. "Have you tried sitting with him?" "We have," Ash said, his deep voice gentle. "But he is too scared. He needs someone who understands what it is like to be alone and different, someone who can show him it is safe." Lisa knelt down slowly, bringing herself to eye level with Spark. The small cub watched her warily, his body trembling with fear and exhaustion. She recognized that desperate combination of needing safety but being unable to trust. "Hello, Spark," Lisa said softly. "Are you hungry?" The cub did not respond, but his eyes tracked her every movement as she sat down cross-legged on the deck floor. One of the station workers brought a tray of food and placed it between Lisa and Spark. Lisa picked up a piece of the meat. After all these months, she had grown somewhat used to the taste and smell. She began to eat just as she had done so long ago with Shadow and the others. She did not rush. She did not force. She just showed the cub that it was safe. The 6 cubs settled around them in a protective circle. Shadow sat closest to Spark, humming one of the nursing songs she had learned from Song. The melody filled the air with warmth and comfort. Slowly, hesitantly, Spark reached for the food. He took a small, cautious bite, then another, and then, as if a dam had broken inside him, he began to eat properly for the first time in days. When he finished, Spark crept forward until he was pressed against Lisa's side. She wrapped her arm around him gently. The cub began to make a sound somewhere between a purr and a sob, releasing all his fear and grief. "You are safe now," Lisa murmured, stroking his scales. "You are part of a family." Shadow touched her nose to Lisa's free hand. "We will care for him," she promised, "as you cared for us. We will show him what you showed us. That family is more than blood. That strength is more than claws. That love bridges all divides." Lisa felt tears streaming down her face, but she did not try to hide them. "I am so proud of you," she said to all 6 of her cubs. "You have become everything I hoped you would be. Teachers, leaders, bridges between worlds. We learn from the best," Frost said. The other cubs rumbled their agreement. That evening brought news that would change everything. A messenger arrived from the Cravathi High Council with an official declaration. In recognition of Lisa Morgan's service to Cravathi younglings and her role in opening dialogue between species, they were granting her honorary Cravathi citizenship and a special title. "This is unprecedented," the messenger, an elderly Cravathi named Elder Voice, explained. "No non-Cravathi has ever been granted this honor, but the council agrees that you have earned it through your actions and your heart." "What does this mean exactly?" Lisa asked, feeling overwhelmed. "It means you are recognized as the founder of a new clan," Elder Voice said. "Clan Bridgewalker, named for your ability to walk between worlds. Any Cravathi who wishes may join your clan. You will have full rights and responsibilities under Cravathi law." Lisa looked at her 6 cubs who were watching with barely contained excitement. "A clan," she repeated slowly. "Our own clan." "It is perfect," Don said enthusiastically. "We are already a family. Now the whole galaxy will recognize it officially." Over the following weeks, the implications became clear. Cravathi from across their territory began arriving at Sanctuary Station. They came not as refugees, but as potential clan members. Some were warriors. Others were scholars, engineers, artists, and thinkers. They came because they believed in what Clan Bridgewalker represented. A future where Cravathi could be strong and connected, fierce and loving, traditional and innovative all at once. The habitat expanded to accommodate the growing clan. Lisa found herself not just a caretaker, but a true leader. She mediated disputes. She made important decisions. She represented her people in galactic affairs. It was exhausting work, but also deeply fulfilling. But the most meaningful moments remained the quiet ones. When Shadow asked Lisa's advice about a problem with one of the younger clan members. When Frost showed her a new invention he had designed to improve life on the station. When Ember performed a traditional Cravathi dance she had learned, but modified it to tell the story of the human who sat with scared cubs and changed everything. One night, Lisa sat surrounded by her clan. The original 6 cubs were there, now full adults, but still her children in every way that mattered. Spark was there too, already bonding with a new group of orphaned cubs who had just arrived. Dozens of other Cravathi filled the space, all proud members of Clan Bridgewalker. "What are you thinking about, human mother?" Ash asked, settling his massive form beside her. "About that first meal," Lisa said. "About how scared I was and how hungry you all were and how neither of us knew if it would work." "We knew," Shadow said from her other side. "Maybe not in our minds, but in our hearts. We knew you were family from the moment you sat with us." "Family," Lisa repeated, looking around at the diverse group of Cravathi who now called her clan mother. "Yes, that is exactly what we are. And that is what we will show the galaxy. That family is not limited by species or biology. It is built by choice, by courage, and by love." The cubs, no longer cubs but young adults now, touched their noses to her hands in their gesture of affection. Around the room, other clan members did the same, a wave of connection and trust. Lisa knew that everything she had given up had been worth it. Her old career, her old life, all of it paled in comparison to what she had now. She had sat with predator cubs when no one else would. She had shown them that trust was possible across impossible divides. And in doing so, she had helped create not just a family, but a bridge between worlds that would change the galaxy forever. The story of Clan Bridgewalker was just beginning, but its foundation was unshakable. A human who dared to care and cubs who dared to trust. Together, they proved that the greatest strength of all is the courage to be gentle, to be open, and to believe in the possibility of family beyond all boundaries. Throughout the galaxy, other species watched and learned. If humans and Cravathi could bridge the gap between prey and predator, What other impossible connections might be waiting to be discovered? The answer, Lisa believed, was simple. All of them. Every single one. All it took was someone willing to sit down and share a meal.